Secretary of State, running for Secretary of State, Marcell Strbich, joins us by phone. Sir, thank you very much. I have heard your name. They just finished the Tom Fitton down in Doral, the Judicial Watch seminar, I think for the last 3 or 4 days. And people are talking about you as the next rock star Secretary of State. Why are people so enthusiastic about your campaign and people that matter, like the Tom Fittons of the world, the Cleta Mitchells, the people that have been fighting to get great secretaries of state in to these state offices, sir?
Great to be with you in the posse, Steve. What this campaign reflects is an outcome of the constitutional crisis that rocked our country. And I was in the military post 9/11, and I experienced all of it, from military service members being purged out to DEI. And I reflected on my 9/11 years of service in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I reached a point where I realized I cannot fight this fight from within the military ranks as an Air Force intel officer. So I decided to take that fight back to Ohio, the home state of my wife. And I realized that even in the state of Ohio, we have some serious issues. Our elections are in trouble. And whereas, let's say, Secretary of State wasn't as important of a position maybe 10 years ago, it is the center point of gravity right now in each and every state, reflective of the fact that they oversee ballot referendums. And you saw what happened in Virginia with the audience. And so I'm taking this on as a cause, post-military, and I've been at this in the trenches for the last 3 years, pushing legislation hard. And whatever it takes, this is my task and purpose.
Marcell, tell me about this, because in Virginia we've had a lot of the part of our movement that is really on top of these elections. They're saying, hey, once again, you got these mail-in ballot problems up in Northern Virginia. Walk me through Ohio. What's your current status and like mail-in ballots? What are the big issues there that you see you have to wrestle with?
Here's the issue. We have an election season, not an election day in Ohio. The Republicans have been accommodating Democrats for the past 2 decades and making it all about accessibility here. And that means we're not focused on verifiability and eligibility verification on the front end. I discovered that we have 50 to 100,000 voter records that are mismatched or invalid. In fact, there's 35,000 records on Ohio's voter rolls whose social security numbers are mismatched, and they have access to a no excuse ballot. On top of that, even though we passed the voter ID bill in Ohio, the Republican legislature did a carve-out, an exemption for photo ID when it came to mail-in ballots. And in 2024, when we had our election and about 20% of Ohioans voted by mail-in ballot, all of them did not require a copy of a photo ID. So in that regard, we are not as fortified as a bellwether state as people say we are, although it's been in the interest of every elected official who's run through this office because they're in pursuit of the U.S. Senate or governor. There are very few who are mission focused and are looking at this and thinking long term. If we keep the back door open because of an honor system with registration, we'll be right where Virginia, Michigan, and Wisconsin are in a matter of years.
Is there an awareness in Ohio about how critical you are to the MAGA movement, and particularly how critical you are to national elections? That if we don't have Ohio, it's going to be virtually impossible for us to put victories. And the reason is that if we don't keep that spread, if you had to spend a ton of time, if you had to spend a lot of money, I mean, this is what we learned in the 16 campaign, the 20, and the 24. Is there a heightened level of awareness among the MAGA movement there of how essential Ohio is and how we have to have ultimate, preeminent voter integrity there?
Yes, now there is, but there is still kind of the holdouts of the Republican Party pre-Trump who are holding tight. You see, we had breakthroughs at the federal level with Vice President Vance winning. He had to do it the hard way. So did Senator Bernie Moreno. So the party grandees who've been in Ohio all the way going back to Governor DeWine in the 1970s have created a system where they've revolved doors. And so I'm up against an opponent. I was winning and am winning, but it's tight. And we're going to need all the MAGA in Ohio to come out with President Trump on the bandwagon on this, because they have been revolving amongst each other to avoid term limits. And the track record here, we have one of the most favorable states as far as a supermajority legislature. We've had executive level office for the past 30 years. This is the state where we should be pushing the agenda for the election integrity and setting the pace for all other states. Instead, we're tiptoeing, and we just passed a bill here recently that disallows ballots after Election Day, but we did so on the basis that we could have faced the Department of Justice lawsuit. So in that regard, we did it because we were being pushed from the White House. I want to see a state where we're leaning forward, we're not being pushed in that regard, and we're just solving these issues piece by piece.
Marcell, take a minute. We got a minute or two. I want you to talk about your service to the country prior to this.
Absolutely. You know, I got the fortune of as an Air Force intel officer being thrown right into Iraq and the operations. I've overseen both surge. I did intelligence collection missions. I did human. I've done tactical, operational, and strategic missions all over the world, eliminating terror targets across 4 continents. And then I had the fortune of working with emerging and disruptive technology, moving to Ohio at the time with the National Air and Space Intelligence Center. And then eventually I worked for the Vice Chairman, Joint Chiefs of Staff for 5 years in the first Trump administration. I was responsible for updating and upgrading information system programs to the tune of about $25 billion. So if there's anybody predisposed and has the ability to upgrade the antiquated, outdated voting systems and bring us into the 21st century, which I think it should be pre-printed hand-marked paper ballots personally, I think the era of electronic vote casting machines is done. And it doesn't coincide well with the cyber threat environment of today. And that would be one of my imperatives. It would be that. It would be requiring only valid excuse mail-in ballots in Ohio. These are scary thoughts to the people who've been doing things the same way 20 years. But where is that getting us? 6 out of 10 Americans, as you know, Steve, said that they weren't sure about the honesty and trust and the accuracy of the elections in 24. And so we can't have that. We need to restore trust and confidence in elections, or we're not going to have a country. And we certainly almost lost it with the open borders. So I think I've arrived at the right time to lead Ohio.
I think we just lost him. Marcell Strbich.
No, I'm here. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah. Can you give us your website? I want to know where people can go and find out more about you and getting back in this race. I think your primary is on May. It's coming up, right? It's very close. I want people to go see who you are today.
Thank you, sir. Yes, our primary election is Cinco de Mayo, May 5th. And I'd like to ask everybody to check out our website at Strbich for Ohio. It's spelled STRBICH. 4 is spelled out FOR, Ohio.com. I've listed my platform. I would ask for every patriot out there. We've raised $800,000, no special interest, just small donor money. That's my beautiful family and wife. Yeah. I'm doing it for them. And I'm asking if everyone can help us. This is the only fuel that we have. And we're fighting very hard in Ohio against the establishment that is not receptive to the President Trump's reforms. So thank you so much for this.